February 4th, 2019. Where did those few days go? um, so already 4 days into February, because I just noticed that. I wanted to just take a minute to note for myself what's happening. That's surprising. Surprising is, on the one hand, I'm mining more language in the form of words, or at least that's sort of the focus. But I'm also trying to mine expression from my body and in my voice. And what is feeding that is more physical activity. So, once again, mind is blown about what constitutes my writing process. Writing is not sitting at a computer typing away, or even sitting in a table with the paper and just staring at it, or even moving the hand. It's sort of like the overall kinetic activity of the body and the aliveness of the body. And so now I'm reconnecting with back in 2011. Actually, before that, it was really like in the very early years of acro yoga. When I was still going into yoga studios, I was exposed to workshops and studios. And I was at one of the very first ones, Avalon Yoga in Palo Alto, and then a yoga studio whose name I don't remember in the Mission. And I've always loved somatic practices. And of course, since I entered my physical education process started with dreading PE class through all of my K through 12 years. Like gym class was the worst. So I thought I hated physical activity because I hated competitive sports and running and all of the gym activities. But then I got into aerobics, step aerobics when that was new, and then spinning, and then yoga, and all of what yoga has brought me. So acro yoga was the first practice that really asked me to do things that, like inversions, like handstand, that I was hoping to avoid. And I still haven't perfected handstand at all, but I did teach myself between the year 2011 and 2013 the headstand. I taught myself to do headstand unsupported on the beach when I moved to Half Moon Bay. I would go out every single day and just do it. And I would fall and fall and fall. And then, and it was like a really challenging, unstable surface that was sometimes on a pretty steep incline for headstand. But I taught myself that, and I still have that practice to this day, even though it's not daily. It's probably like 3 times a week that I'm doing a headstand. But it's with me, the proprioception of knowing where vertical is upside down in my body. However, I've never found a way to teach myself to do handstand, although my suspicion is that working out, strengthening upper body with weights and strengthening core, and just overall, I'm noticing my posture's a lot better from going to the gym, doing strength classes, that might help. And the reason it's coming back is that I've been opened through Kaylee Quinn, Kali Quinn, Quinn. She's a solo performer, and it's just not enough to call her a solo performer, but just this holistic practitioner of creativity and compassion. Fascinating what she's woven together. And it's very inspiring to look at my work in a different way. So she's an alumna of the Del Arte International School in Blue Lake, California. And so I've been looking into this program to just kind of sample it. I really feel like it'll be like acro yoga for me, but acro with storytelling and expression, which is sort of this totally unexplored arena in my body. Because I just gave you the list of what my physical education has been. So it's been like sports, competitive, dread, PE class, to working out for exercise, to healing arts, but none of it is about expression. I've never used my body for expression, except when I was a very young child, um, early elementary school days. I just wrote this down tonight, that my first spontaneous activity as a child was to produce shows. I had the annual Christmas show that I used my cousins, my younger cousins, as performers in, and every year it would increase in complexity and programming and costumes and production value as everyone got older. And this continued probably, until junior high. And that was just my natural impulse. No one told me to do it, and no one told me not to do it, because it was just open space that I had. And the other space that I created in was the backyard musical productions, backyard and basement musical productions, a duo, my friend Katie Schumacher and I. She lived behind my next door neighbors, and she was my age, and we would play together at each other's houses. And a lot of what we did in the summertime was just do these spontaneous musicals that we would compose based on just whatever. It's just nothing. Like, we would just make it up. And we did this whole revue in my basement. We had these very elaborate play games where we were waitresses and chefs and storekeepers and shoppers. And one time we did this really elaborate musical production that I wish was videotaped. We served chocolate chip cookies to my dad, invited him downstairs, and like had all of the set changes and all of the choreography, the lighting, and we used every single aspect of that basement in our production. And it was amazing, and it was never done again. And we would also do Halloween haunted house productions that would increase in production value every year also. We would figure out like how to buy that spider webbing stuff and the little plastic spider rings. And we had this, I remember the crowning achievement was one year I got this skull, like glow in the dark skull candle that was like really scary. And there was a banister that went down the stairs, and we had this whole plan where we would like have a flashlight all of a sudden go onto the skull and then release it and have it like shoot down the balcony, and and it was gonna be like really scary. And we had sound effects and like an entire experience, immersive experience, 1982. So I had this imagination, and I had these small places where I expressed it, and of course I dismissed it as like nothing, and it was never anything that was ever going to become. It wasn't considered part of even who I am, because there were so many other important things to focus on in life, right? So here I am, age 43. And getting reminded again, life is pulling me back to show me that this whole thing exists. Being, having all the awareness of the body that I have is not only applicable to quote unquote healing arts, which who says that theater is not a healing art? We've just like arbitrarily separated those things. But in ancient Greece, the healing temples had a theater. And that was part of healing, was to experience the story, the emotion played back through theater. So the arts and healing have always been connected in ancient cultures. And so now we're like, I'm trying to like reconcile and, figure out whether it's healing or whether it's arts, and it's both, and it's always been that way. And so I'm finding my way back to theater. I'm finding my way back to the spoken, not just spoken word, because why do we have to say that? Like right now I'm doing spoken word. I am speaking words. But there's something different about theater where there's a point of view and there's a character and there's a embodied expression. The entire posture creates the voice of this character. And somehow like, I have an awareness of it, but I don't have an experience of creating consciously from it. I probably speak very expressively, like, um, when I'm allowing myself to, but it hasn't become a tool yet that I can use because I kind of get into like stilted mode when I say I'm doing theater or when I'm performing. And of course, so much of my performance experience in my life has been not verbal, not using my voice. It's been uh, creating a voice through instrument. So grateful for that experience. It let me develop a certain kind of body control, a certain kind of mind-body relationship that I then blossomed and harvest through yoga practice into a bigger body awareness. And now it's amazing. I'm discovering and starting to get excited about the next iteration of this and bringing that into my writing process, which continues to evolve as like just waking up more elements of the body is, I'm learning that I need to honor the experiences that I'm having and not dismiss them as nothing. That's a huge lesson. I just keep saying, like, oh, I'm nothing. But then every time I have a chance to look back at what I've done, I see that I have this amazing collage of loves and experiences and practices and teachers and places that I have invited in and are part of my being all the time. And they're what I have to offer, and it's what I choose to offer. And when I dismiss myself, I tend to offer less. When I celebrate it, which is what Kaylee Quinn is really teaching me right now, she has the beautiful book called I Am Compassionate Creativity, and it is exquisite as just everything. Everything about it is like the kind of book I want to write and could write and can write someday if I sort of just sit down and honor everything that I've experienced and just say, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what she did. She was kind of getting to her burnout point a few years ago and just decided to do this project for 111 days. And it rejuvenated her and it became something bigger. And so I'm learning. I am just humbly learning to honor more of what's happening for me. And hopefully, I have the chance someday to give this back in a huge way to people. Yeah, I know that I haven't found my venues for teaching yet. Um, I'm discovering them. I'm accumulating experience, but there are places waiting for me where I can teach and perform and share, and I'm continuing to feel my way through that. So yeah, I feel kind of mellow. What did I do today? I decided to kind of chill out because I'd had a pretty busy weekend, which is why I didn't post here on the weekend. And then I spent the evening making a handmade birthday card for my niece, which really got me back into the tactile collage aspect of my visual art practice, which I love. I still really, really love pushing color and I love collage. So I did a collage tonight and that felt really good. And I love making things for people that are messages from me, which is what, of course, a birthday card is. especially to my niece. So I sort of like had a whole cutout design where there's doors that open and messages inside, and it was fun to just play like that and write a little message to someone I hope can hear my message someday, if not now. So that's a good thing to notice about myself. And tomorrow's Tuesday, so I was playing with recording my voice, reading a very emotionally charged um, monologue or poem that I wrote 2 years ago, and I was going to try moving to it. The moving part never happened. I did record the voice. And so tomorrow I want to bring those two things together and see what that feels like. That's all it is. We ask a question and then we try it and see what happens. And it's just an amazing way to approach life in that way. It's sort of like my next level of improvisation, which, started in music and now is like moving to the level of the body and story and creating in another level of total presence with wondering. And the only way to answer the question is to ask by um, inhabiting the question. So I'm just noticing the timbre of my voice is different today. And I think it's because I did drop inside into some nonverbal, a little bit of verbal, but that visual arts space and getting excited about potentially doing a theater immersion this summer in my physical theater immersion in my body, which would be another layer of didn't see that coming, never knew that I would be doing that, but I'm really feeling a yes on it as a complement to this development of what is performance and what is writing for me. So, yeah.